So, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is finally out in theaters and IMAX screens alike, and if you need to know if you should check out this movie on a massive screen, well, let's get into it. Hello friends, and welcome back to the Brockopp side, a place to live talking by movies. And real quick, I'm sure some of you cool kids have already seen this movie, so if you have, go in and comment down below your thoughts on the D&D movie. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What'd you see it in? But anyway, there are going to be no spoilers in this review, so let's just talk real quick about the movie itself. And just to cut to the chase, I actually did have a really good time with this movie. And as you can see by my comically large D20, I have actually played D&D quite a bit. I started playing around mid-July of last year. It's been a really fun time, but I am by no means an expert on the lore, the creatures, anything like that. I basically just play the comedic relief that plays a little banjo and occasionally dies and comes back. But there were plenty of elements in this movie from the D&D lore that I definitely recognized, especially the owl bears, which one of my characters almost fought one time, but then just chose to write mildly inappropriate books instead. And the cast itself was excellent all around, whether you talk about Chris Pine as the bard, getting to show his great comedic skill, or Michelle Rodriguez being an absolute badass as a barbarian, or Hugh Grant just being Hugh Grant. The only real difference between this and a real D&D group is that nobody randomly disappears because they got sick one week, or nobody freaking dies and then comes back as a slightly different version of the previous character. Visually, the movie is really nice to look at with a lot of exotic locations, plus a surprising amount of practical effects and animatronic characters. There were a few throughout the movie where you can just tell by the way the mouth moves and everything that, wow, that's actually an animatronic head on an actor. That's actually really cool. So the movie earns a lot of cool points for that alone. And sure, the plot itself is predictable and not every moment lands like it should, especially towards the very end of the movie. But ultimately, I am 100% down to see more Dungeons & Dragons movies like this. I think there's a lot you could do there. But I know what you're all thinking. What about the IMAX, you silly goose? That's what I clicked on this video for. Well, don't worry. I did see it in IMAX, got the cool poster, and this really neat felt map of what I assume are a bunch of locations from the movie. I don't know because I don't recognize any of this, but without further ado, let's just start talking about the IMAX experience. Well, first things first, the movie was indeed filmed with IMAX-approved cameras, so naturally, you do get that proper high resolution in there. It does, however, maintain the 2:3:9 aspect ratio throughout the entire movie, so there aren't any sequences where it would expand to a 1:9:0 aspect ratio like we're kinda used to. That kind of thing mainly happens with Marvel movies, you know, for certain grand, like, final battle sequences and things like that. That kind of thing doesn't happen here at all, which is honestly kind of a shame, because this is a fantasy movie with giant castles and sweeping landscapes. One scene that I think could have definitely benefited from filling up the entire IMAX screen is this one scene where all the characters have to go into this underground cave dungeon thing, a lot of booby traps, trying to get this one golden helmet, and then of course they're naturally chased out by the dummy thick dragon. Of course, the movie just staying like this and not being like this is not going to be a deal breaker by any means, because it's still an IMAX screen, so it's going to be larger and it's going to be a higher resolution regardless. The sound design was nothing revolutionary, but the IMAX still does a good job of rattling your seat whenever a dragon's bursting through a wall or swords are clanking left and right. But before I give you my final thoughts on the movie itself, I decided to go out to Target right after checking out the movie and got one of these D&D Honor Among Thieves dice slings. It's like a Transformer D20, I guess, so I figured, hey, let's just unbox it and see how it looks. But of course, it wouldn't be a proper D20 if we don't give it the roll check, so 1 second here. I rolled a 6. Well, that's not good. And I broke it. Son of a bitch. It kind of took a minute to figure out how to actually open it up and everything, but yeah, kind of a neat little trinket, I guess. Although I do think it would have been really cool, though, is if you were rolling it like a regular die, and if it landed on like a nat 20 or something, it would just pop out like a Bakugan or something. I wonder if I use that my next time playing D&D, if the other players would judge me. Probably, yeah, they definitely would judge me over that. Overall, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is a great example of just lighthearted popcorn entertainment that one could easily get lost into the world of if one so desires. As for the IMAX experience, even though it doesn't take full advantage of the format, I would still say that yes, it's certainly worth checking out all the dragons and also the dungeons on the giant premium format, if you can help it. But if you want to see how another movie looked in IMAX, I got just the thing right over here. Otherwise, subscribe if you live talking by movies, and we'll see you on the Brockopp side.